Good afternoon, Chair. Your meeting is now live.
Thank you very much, Peter. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Councillor David Fuller, Chair of the Planning Committee, and I welcome everyone to this virtual Planning Committee meeting here this afternoon. This meeting is being broadcast to enable the press and public to view this meeting. We are meeting virtually in response to the limitations placed on governance by the COVID-19 pandemic. Until recently, the law stated that all members had to be present in the room to make formal decisions at meetings. However, the law was amended in response to the COVID-19 emergency, and councillors are able to hold public meetings virtually. For the purpose of this meeting, and having been advised by the City Solicitor, I can confirm that the Section 78 of the Coronavirus Act 2020, this meeting will be run, including Regulations 2020, number 392, including changes to the standing orders regarding deputations and the making of motions. The officer will present the application, read any written deputations received and confirm the recommendation for debate. To facilitate this meeting, I have exercised my discretion in accordance with the Constitution and suspending Standards Order number 41A, and I'm allowing debate of items before a formal motion is made to this committee. Members are reminded to be available throughout the meeting and to indicate if they need to leave the proceedings at any point. Members are also requested to keep their microphones on mute and to only turn them on when they are called to speak. This will limit the amount of background noise, which can be very disruptive. Members are requested to keep their cameras turned on at all times. Officers are requested to turn their cameras on only when they are presenting their reports and answering any questions. Members of the committee who wish to speak in this debate should use the chat facility or simply write RTS, and that means request to speak. Please do not use the chat facility for anything else. Officers will also use a chat function to advise me, the chairman, if they need to provide me with any advice to this committee. If there is a technical difficulties or we need to take a confidential advice, we will endeavour to resolve this as quick as possible, and we would have to have obviously a brief adjournment, but this meeting can proceed where called. I will now explain the running order of this meeting. Members would declare any interests, receive an update on planning matters, agree the minutes of the previous meetings, and then determine each planning item. For each item, the planning officer will make a presentation of the application. Following their presentation, the officer will read out any written deputations submitted in accordance with the amended standing orders for deputations. Members will then be able to ask questions, make comments, and then we determine the application. So first of all, we'd like to invite members to introduce themselves. Can you please reply by stating your name and stating present and wherever you are attending here as a full committee member or as a standing deputy or a full member. I will pause for a few seconds between each time calling each member. Those who are not here to confirm that they are here are to be present will be recorded as absent from this meeting. So I call upon Councillor Judith Smythe.
Councillor Judith Smythe, Vice Chair of this committee, present. Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Matthew Atkins.
Chair, Councillor Atkins is just trying to come back in again. So if you could maybe come back to him at the end of your list, he will then be able to hopefully introduce himself.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor. So we move on to Councillor Chris Atwell. Now, I understand that he might be, apologies later, but he's not here at present. Councillor Lee Hunt, I understand, isn't here at the moment, and Councillor Hugh Mason is taking his place. So, Councillor Hugh Mason, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Councillor Hugh Mason, Standing Deputy for Councillor Lee Hunt. I'm a member for St Jude Ward.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I now call upon Councillor Donna Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Donna Jones, Conservative Group Leader and Councillor for Hilsey Ward.
Thank you for that, Councillor. Councillor Terry Norton, please. Councillor Terry Norton.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Terry Norton, Conservative Councillor for Drayton and Farlington Ward.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Lynn Stagg, please.
Councillor Lynn Stagg, Ward Councillor for Backings Ward.
And you're a full-time committee member, the same as Councillor Terry Norton. Thank you very much. Councillor Luke Stubbs. Is Councillor Luke Stubbs with us?
I am. I hope you can see me. Luke Stubbs, Easton and Craneswater, and I'm a full member.
Ah, lovely. I can hear you, Councillor. I can't quite see you, but we know your voice, so welcome. Thank you for coming this afternoon. And call upon Councillor Claire Oudie, please. Is Councillor Claire Oudie here?
Yes, Councillor Claire Oudie, and I'm a full member of this planning committee.
Thank you very much, Councillor. So now we go back to Councillor Matthew Atkins. Is Councillor Matthew Atkins here with us? Okay.
Can you hear?
Well, we'll come back to him in a minute. Can you hear us at all?
Yes, I'm here, Chair. Yeah, Councillor Matthew Atkins, Cotton Ward, a full member. Thank you.
I think we just about got that. Councillor Matthew Atkins. Yes, we can see you now, Councillor. Welcome. And you did say, obviously, you're a full-time member. Thank you very much for that. So I now call and ask the officers to confirm that they are present as follows. Isa El Corrado, Head of Development Management.
Thanks, Councillor. I'm present.
Thank you very much. Simon Turner, who's the Development Management Lead.
Thank you, Chairman. I am present.
Thank you very much. Matthew Gerard, Planning Officer.
Thank you, Chair. I am present.
Thank you, Matthew. Summer Sharp, who is the Planning Officer.
Thank you, Chair. I am present.
Juliet Gill, Planning Legal Advisor to this committee.
Good afternoon, Chair. I'm present.
Good. Lovely to have you back as well. Lisa Gallitcher, is that how I've spelled that right? Local Democracy Officer.
Thank you, Chair. Present.
Thank you very much. So the first item is apologies. So I'm going to go over to formally ask the Legal Democracy Officer to confirm whether we have received any apologies for any absence.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we've received apologies from Councillor Lee Hunt and Councillor Chris Atwell.
Thank you very much for that. So members, we're going on to declarations of any interest. So this so that completes the attendance record. So I'm now going to move on to item 2, which is, as I said, declarations of any interest. So do any members have any declarations that they would like to make? Please state both the type of interest and the nature of the interest. All very quiet. I think just for me, just something to note that I work in Havant Road as a residential care home, not proprietor, as a manager, and nothing. The last item I know is in the same road, but there's nothing else. I just want people just to realise that. So, but there's nothing more to say really on that. Okay, so I'll now move on to agenda item number 3 to consider the minutes of the previous meeting, and that was held on the 9th of September. The recommendation is that the minutes to be approved as a correct record and to be signed by me, the chair. So can I have a proposal, please, for the recommendation, please, and a seconder? Can I have a proposal, first of all? Anybody want to do it? Councillor Judith Smythe, you proposing the minutes?
I'm happy to propose or second,
Yes.
Chair, if you need me to. It's Donna Jones.
Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you very much. So if Councillor Donna Jones can second that proposal I had, first of all, I had Councillor Judith Smythe's hand up. So those minutes have been agreed. So thank you for that and been approved. So we're now moving on to any updates of planning applications. We now move to the next item. Mr. Acaldo, do we have any updates for any members this afternoon?
Yes, Chair, we do have updates on previous planning applications, plan permissions. We have a 6-number HMO planning enforcement appeals pending at the Planning Inspectorate. Currently, we internally have engaged our counsel, external counsel, and a principal planning consultant to provide specialist input and to provide robust defense to these enforcement appeals. We have received one appeal so far. That's for HMO on 305 Fawcett Road down in South Sea. We have also received 5 appeal decisions, 2 of them being householder applications. Both were dismissed. And we received also 2 decisions for 2 HMOs. Those appeals were equally dismissed. We did have 1 householder application for appeal, which was allowed, and that's for 44 Hellyear Road. It's down in South Sea. That concludes the updates, Councillor.
Thank you very much. And of course, if any members here want to have a chat about that, they can obviously get hold of you. So thank you very much for that. So we're now going to move on to the planning officer, Summer Sharp, who will now present the first of the 2 applications. And this is consisting of a planning application, and it's a corresponding list building application. And this is to the Storytime Nursery School in Kelsey House. We'll hear the presentations for both parts if members are happy for that, and proposals together, but we'll vote on them separately if you're all okay with that. So thank you very much. So over to Summer, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to share my screen. Whilst I'm doing so, I will take you through the supplementary matters. So following the publication of the reports, we revisited this and think it would be prudent to make members aware of some more details and fuller details of some of the objection comments and heritage matters. So as a brief summary, the proposals are not considered to result in any adverse impact upon the heritage of the host building, and therefore the relevant paragraphs of the NPPF would not be engaged. And the issues raised in regards to the objection comments will be covered within this presentation. So the application proposes a single-storey rear extension on the terrace area relating to the first floor flat, as well as alterations to existing railings, which would be replaced with a brick wall, and the addition of 2 number windows on the southern side elevation. So the proposed extension would be on this terrace area as shown, and then the windows would be here, and the railings would be replaced with the brick wall along this southern elevation here. So the host building is a grade 2 listed building, and the application site is located at first floor level. The wider surrounding area also falls within the Owens South Sea Conservation Area. As shown on the satellite view is a clearer version of the existing terrace area. The green outline also shows where the windows would be located, and hopefully this provides some context with the relationship of the neighbouring properties to the south. So the existing courtyard, the existing terrace area has existing views over the courtyard to properties to the south. It joins the neighbouring property to the east here, and the windows proposed would overlook a flat roof element to the south, and slightly overlook the side elevation. This provides some context to the outlook of the existing balcony. This is the view to the east. This is the view towards the courtyard areas, as you can see. So the floor plans show that the existing terrace area would be reduced in terms of its size. The existing elevation is shown on the left with the previous doors, which would be removed to create this single-storey rear extension on the terrace. This is context of the site visit that I took. The side elevation shows where the 2 windows would be proposed at first floor level. The side elevation also shows where the existing railings would be removed and replaced to be a brick wall, along with the single-storey extension. Due to the nature of the application site being a listed building, we undertook a site visit to go inside the property. As shown on this picture, the 2 windows would be located either side of the mirror, and on the outside they would be either side of the chimney breast. Due to the objection comment from the neighbour to the south of Crescent House, I visited this property, and these are the views from the neighbouring property who objected to the site. The railings would be no higher, and this would be a brick wall with the single-storey rear extension coming along here. Having regard to all material considerations raised, representations and planning policy, it is concluded that the development is acceptable. I would now welcome any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Summer. Thank you for that. And we'll now move to questions from members, please, which will be directed to Summer, the planning officer. So who would like to speak? I've got Councillor Luke Stubbs, who's got his hand up, but just to remind him, if he'd like to use the chat, it would be better for me, because I make sure that I do everybody sort of in turn. So Councillor Luke Stubbs, please.
You're quite right, Chairman. Sorry, I was wrong about that. The paperwork talks about this item coming to the committee on the back of a deputation request. Do we have a deputation to read out?
Good point. Summer, would you be able to answer Councillor Stubbs that question, please?
We have not received any comments which the neighbour would like to be read out. The only objection we had was the initial one with the deputation and request for it to come to committee.
Okay, thank you for that. Is that okay with you, Councillor Stubbs?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you for pointing that out too. I had Councillor Judith Smythe, please. A question, please, to the officer.
I've got 2 questions. One is related to the previous one. Do we have any other information about the nature of the objection from that neighbour that wasn't summarised in the report? And second, I think for the benefit of the public, it will be useful just to explain why we have 2 planning applications here, one of which is an application for listed building consent and one of which is an application for planning permission, and why they couldn't be rolled up in one application in the normal way. So 2 questions.
Yes, I'll start with the latter.
I didn't hear part of that. Sorry, Summer. I didn't hear. Sorry, Councillor. I didn't hear part of your question. Would you mind, please? Sorry.
No, happy to do repeat.
Would you mind repeating your questions? Just one at a time, first of all, and I'll come straight back to you. What's your first question, Councillor?
The first question is to build on the answers given about the deputation and the neighbours' objections, and I wondered if the officer had any further information about the nature of their objections that wasn't already in the report. That's the first question.
Right, lovely, thank you. Summer, would you like to answer that? I got that one.
Yes, so the objection from Crescent House to the south of the application site, the report addresses the following concerns, which was overdevelopment, loss of privacy due to the previously approved patio terrace area, loss of light, and the fact that the proposal would not be in keeping with the character of the Grade 2 listed building. Within the SMAT report, we further elaborated upon that by saying that the objection states that the patio created some time ago already ruined their privacy due to the overlooking. They consider there would now be a loss of light and loss of privacy as a result of the proposal. Whilst they note within their objection that it would be cheek by jowl kind of development with the neighbouring properties, the neighbour concludes that the addition would further intrude into their privacy and light. Our response would be the main concerns have been addressed within the report. but with respect to the light, the first floor terrace is modest in terms of its scale and would be seen from neighbouring properties against the backdrop of the host building, and as such would not have a limited degree of impact upon them. Further, we confirmed the distances between the proposal and the neighbouring property to the south, which would be approximately 7.5 to 8 metres away. So the distance combined with the existing relationship is therefore not considered to result in an adverse impact upon this amenity. The secondary comment advised that they had no objection in principle to the extension, but were concerned about privacy as well as damage to the glass roof. And this neighbour is located to the east of the application site, which was where I showed photos of the existing balcony area. I'm happy to put them up again if you wish to see those. So we addressed these comments to say that the existing relationship in terms of the eastern elevation would be unaltered from the existing, so therefore would not have an adverse impact upon them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Summer. Councillor.
My second question was, I think it would be helpful if the officer could explain, so that members of the public listening to this, why there are two applications. I appreciate one is a listed building consent and the other is an ordinary planning application. I think it'd be helpful just to confirm why there were two applications necessary in this case.
Thank you. So the reason that the applications...
Summer.
Sorry. Sorry, Chair.
That's all right.
The reason for the two applications was because they're assessed against different pieces of legislation. So the listed building consent will be assessed against the Listed Buildings and Conservation Areas Act, which requires different considerations to be had as opposed to full planning permission.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Summer. Thank you, Councillor. Thank you for Councillor Matthew Atkins' little spill on their chat as well. Thank you for that. I understand the sound might be my end and no one else's end, so I do apologise for that. Okay, Councillor Hugh Mason was the next person. Councillor Hugh Mason, please. Question to the officers, please. Councillor Hugh Mason, I think you had a question to the officer. If you could switch your microphone on.
Okay, a question on the listed building consent. I note the railings are to be replaced by a wall. In principle, I suspect there's nothing against that. But are the railings an integral part of the listed building, and are they original or are they replacements?
Summer, would you like to answer that for me, please?
As far as I'm aware, the listing description does not make any reference to them being an integral feature. They do look fairly modern, so I cannot confirm whether they are original or not, but I informally would advise that they would be a later addition.
Councillor Hugh Mason, did you have another question to ask?
No, that's just
No?
Thank you, Summer.
Thank you very much. Councillors, I don't see anybody else wanting any more questions to the officer at the moment. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. So, members, we're going to move on now to any comments, please, that any councillor wish to have a comment. And the first person is Councillor Donna Jones. You have a comment, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to propose the officer's recommendation.
Thank you very much, Councillor Donna Jones. Anybody else have a comment at all, please?
Sorry, Chair, is that on the planning permission application only, or is Donna proposing on both?
Thank you, Juliet. Yes, Donna, would you like, sorry, Councillor Jones, would you like to clarify? Sorry, just so that we got it right.
Well, at the moment, we've only had a presentation of the one, but listen, I think they're both very, very straightforward. We understand why they're here because of a local objection. If it wasn't for that, they wouldn't be at the agenda. The officer would have dealt with it under delegated authority. So I'm very happy to propose the officer's recommendation for conditional permission on both.
Thank you very much. That's very clear. Thank you very much, Councillor. Is that okay, Juliet? Yeah? Okay. Right,
yes,
Councillor Terry.
That's fine. Yeah, we'll vote. Members will vote on the planning permission first, and then vote on the other one.
We'll do them
afterwards.
separately.
Yes,
Thank
you.
you very much, Juliet. Thank you. Councillor Terry Norton, you had a comment, please.
Yep, thank you, Chair. Happy to second both.
Second, that makes life much easier. Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. Anybody else had any comments before we go to the voting, please? No. Okay, so I go on to this bit. So we now have a motion proposed by Councillor Donna Jones and seconded, to give permission in accordance with the officer's recommendations, and then this was also seconded by Councillor Terry Norton. So I'll just check with the planning officer for any additional comments before we go to the first vote on the day nursery at all. Any comments at all from the officer?
No additional comments, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So I now go to the vote. I'll ask each member in turn if they are voting for or against the motion, or do they wish to abstain. And obviously, please only state for or against or abstain. I know I've got to go through everybody, but that's the way it is, I'm afraid. So I call upon, first of all, Councillor Judith Smythe, please. Please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for the motion.
First part, thank you very much. Councillor Matthew Atkins, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for the motion, Chair.
Thank you very much. I call upon Councillor Donna Jones, please. Please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Terry Norton, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Lynn Stagg, please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Luke Stubbs, please indicate if you're for or against, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Claire Udy, please indicate if you are for or against, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you very much. I call upon Councillor Hugh Mason. Please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion.
Thank you very much. And my own vote is as chair, and I'm for the motion in front of us. Thank you very much. So I'll just check with Democratic to make sure that the numbers are all okay.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, that's unanimous.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the number 1B, which is in my briefing notes. It's the Storytime Nursing School listed building consent. Is that okay, Julie? Could you just clarify what we're voting on now, please?
Yes, Chair, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're quite happy then. Okay. So we had Councillor Donna Jones who proposed it, and Councillor Terry Norton who seconded the motion. So I now call upon Councillor Judith Smythe. Please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you abstain?
I'm for the motion, Chair.
Thank you very much. Call upon Councillor Matthew Atkins. Please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Donna Jones, please indicate if you're for or against, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. I call upon Councillor Terry Norton. Please indicate if you're for or against, or do you wish to abstain?
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Lynn Stagg, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Luke Stubbs, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. I call upon Councillor Claire Udy. Please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
I call upon Councillor Hugh Mason. Please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion.
Thank you very much. And my own vote is for the motion. Thank you very much. So I'll ask legal to confirm. I'm sure that that has all been passed. Correct. Okay, thank you very much. So that is unanimous. Is that correct? Just check with Democratic Services, but that was unanimous. Yes. Thank you very much. Yeah. Just want to make sure I've got it okay, and I can't be told off the planning. Thank you very much for that. So now we move on to the next application, which is the planning officer. Matthew will now present the second application, and this is number 56 South Road, members. So number 56 South Road. is the next application, and we'll hand over to Matthew.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to share my screen. While I do, members' attention is drawn to the supplementary matters, as well as the 2 deputations that have been sent around and some additional photos that have been submitted by the neighbour to the north, Mr. Bowyer. The SMAT has provided some further analysis on the loss of sunlight and daylight towards the neighbour to the north. This will be covered within the presentation. Okay, so this is can everyone see the screen? Yes. This is a householder application for the construction of a single-storey rear extension at 56 South Road within the Drayton and Farlington area. The application relates to a detached bungalow located on the western side of South Road, and the property is orientated from east to west. The property benefits from a front forecourt and a rear garden, and is separated either side from the neighbouring dwellings by an approximate distance of 3 metres, and features a 1.8 metre high boundary fencing along both its northern and southern boundary. The property features an existing single-storey rear conservatory, which is located towards the southern half of the property, and the neighbours either side feature single-storey rear conservatories. Planning permission is sought for the construction of a single-storey rear extension to a depth of 5 metres, with an additional element extruding a further 1.9 metre along the northern side of the property. The extension would be set down from the main ridge of the property to a height of 4.8 metres and an eaves height of 3 metres, and would be finished in materials to match the existing property, and overall is considered to be a sympathetic addition to the dwelling in its design. Here you can see the floor plans of the property. The extension would provide a larger kitchen lounge area for the property and an additional WC. Here you can see the relationship with the neighbouring property. Here you can see the existing rear of the property and its relationship with the neighbouring dwelling to the north, number 54 South Road. And here you can see the relationship with the neighbouring property to the south, which features a single-storey rear conservatory and an outbuilding along the neighbouring boundary. As mentioned, these properties is separated from the neighbour to the north and south by approximately 3 metres, wall to wall. This photo best illustrates the separation between the 2 properties and allows you to envision the proposed extension, which would come along this side wall roughly to the end of the first step here. Additionally, you can see the view of the site taken from outside of the neighbour's conservatory. By my estimations, at the December solstice, the sun would emerge from behind the bungalow, the existing bungalow, at approximately 12:15 p.m. And from that time, the proposed extension would cast a shadow over the conservatory to the north at number 54. But within approximately 2 hours, the sun would have moved round the west, southwest, and so would shine past the proposed extension and on the neighbour's conservatory. At any time, the existing fence would cast shadow in the winter on sunny days. It's also important to consider that sunny days are not frequent in the winter, with 62% of days in December being overcast, and the period of shadow cast would not be very long. Away from the winter solstice, the sun is higher, and so less and less shadow would extend above the garden fence until none at all in the summer months. And while there would be some shadow cast in the middle of winter, the neighbour's overall amenity is formed from far more than just sunlight and daylight. Daylight comes from the whole sky and will be very little affected by the proposal, in my opinion. And the neighbour's principal outlook is west down their own rear garden, which is ample and verdant. And I note that they have blinds and frosted glazing to their southern elevation. So I would conclude that while the extension is not a small projection, it would nevertheless have a limited and acceptable effect on sunlight and a very limited effect on daylight and outlook. As such, the neighbour's amenity would be essentially preserved. Further, it's important to highlight that the applicant's permitted development fallback option would allow them to build an extension at the site to a depth of 4 meters with an overall height of 4 meters. And having regards to the fallback position of the applicant and the otherwise summarised matters, the proposal is not considered to be sufficiently harmful to warrant refusal of the application and is considered to be acceptable in its amenity. And so having regards to the material considerations and representations and planning policy, it is concluded that the development is acceptable. That's it for my presentation. I do have 2 deputations that I can read.
Yes, please. Would you read them out for us, Matthew? Thank you.
It's fine. So to begin with, I'll read the deputation by Mr. John Bower from 54 South Road. So he is the objector. My name is John Bower. My wife and I have lived at 54 South Road for 27 years. Whilst living here, we have raised 2 children. They have now left the family home. I have been retired for 9 years and I am home for most of the day. The proposed extension of 5 meters at number 56, located to the south of our property, will cut out our sunlight from November to February. In addition, it will reduce sunlight in October and March. When sitting in our conservatory and looking from our garden, the extension will have an aggressive, solid, domineering and overbearing visual impact. The proposed extension at number 56 will increase the building's floor plan by a third. We feel that this will have an effect on our daily lives, giving the feeling of being hemmed in, affecting our emotional well-being, resulting in a deprivation of liberty, leading to depression and anxiety, resulting from the loss of sunlight, scenery and sky. Referring to our objection dated the 10th of March 2020, which has been passed on to members, these are the additional plans and photos. We would like to summarise the following points. On plan 1, the superimposed photo shows our expected view from what the 5 meter extension will look like from our outside conservatory door and patio area. Our bungalows are staggered back by 1.2 meters, meaning a 5 meter extension will have a visual appearance of 6.2 meters to our property. On plan 2, the superimposed photo shows the current view from outside our conservatory, with the expected outline showing how much a 5 meter extension will appear to us. Our existing sunlight will be obscured due to the 4.8 meter height. The sun will not rise above its roof from November to February. It will be reduced in October and March. We believe this contravenes the 45-degree ruling on sunlight deprivation. This information was taken from sun charts that help to calculate angles. We use our conservatory all year round. The sunlight helps to heat our home in the winter and lightens our rooms. Our energy bills will increase due to the loss of sunlight. On plan 3, the photo shows what our expected view will be from inside our conservatory and its visual impact. The excessive height and length will inflict a sense of enclosure and will be overpowering to look at every day. We are under the impression that a single-story rear extension would only be permitted to a height of 4 meters to comply with existing single-story extension regulations, taking into consideration that the distance from the extension to our boundary is only 2 meters. We were aware that there was a previous extension that was taken down before we moved into our property. Looking at the 1918 map, the extension was smaller in footprint. As we live in a flood risk area, we are concerned with surface water drainage. In the past few years, both South Road and nearby Station Road have had rainwater flooding issues. During wet spells, our gardens often have surface water which is slow to drain away. My neighbour at number 58 and myself have installed a drainage pump to remove this water. My concerns are that adding a large extension to the area will increase flooding. In addition, number 56 have already removed a 6 meter grass verge to the front of their property. All of the properties in South Road still have their verges, which will help to absorb surface water. We wish to make you aware of several misleading measurements and facts in the summary of main issues dated September 21st, 2020. Items 1.3 and 8.3. Our property boundary is 2 meters from number 56 and not 3 meters. It is 2.6 meters from wall to wall. This makes our loss of sunlight more relevant and including the overall impact. Item 1.5, our conservatory at number 54 has a depth of 3.5 metres, not 1.5 metres. Items 1.6 and 8.4. Number 58 has a conservatory, not an extension. Item 7.2, we believe there are no similar 5-metre extensions to the south of our property. We are disappointed that the opportunity has not been available for the committee to attend a site visit, as photographic evidence and written statements do not portray the visual effect of the extension in proportion to the surrounding bungalows at number 54 and 58. We are aware that any new owners may build an extension, which we have no issue with. However, the scale of the proposed extension has caused a great deal of stress to us because of its height and length. We feel this has caused friction between our neighbours, which we did not wish. I would like to thank the Planning Committee for hearing our objections. John and Tracy Bower. I'll now read the deputation submitted by the applicant, Mr. Steve Cameron. My wife and I moved into number 56 South Road in August 2019. It is our intention to retire in the property. With this in mind, we have plans to enhance and modernise the property while maintaining and improving the general condition internally and externally. One of the deciding factors for purchase of the property in South Road was a large amount of development that has already been and continues to be permitted locally. On our initial planning application and subsequently when resubmitting plans current for a smaller footprint, a major consideration was made regarding the roofline of our development. There are a number of bungalows in South Road who have very similar proportioned additions. These developments, which I know of at least 7 in the road, all have full height rooflines in continuation from the original bungalow. Our proposal has a significantly lower roof pitch to give as much consideration to our neighbour as possible. The impact of the extension cannot be gauged or understood in the one-dimensional images created by Mr. Boer, which do not give any impression of depth and distance. Since the objection raised by Mr. Boer on the 10th of March, a new 1.8 metre fence has been erected along the boundary of our property, which will further obscure the view from number 54's garden and conservatory. While there is a minor degree of surface water held on the ground within our garden, when we have prolonged heavy rain, it is not significant. The proposed development will replace the current slab patio area and therefore allow water which would have previously collected there to be diverted through guttering into the drain. This will reduce groundwater not only in our property but also neighbouring premises. We have future plans to remove a significant concrete hardstand and the remaining patio area and replace it with decking, which will again elevate surface water to the benefit of our garden and neighbouring properties. With regards to number 58, who have no objections to the development, we are in discussion to further improve the drainage of the gardens, if necessary, following the removal of the patio and hardstand area. Although not relevant to this application, the addition of a drop curb and removal of the grass verge to the front of our property has not been noted to have any detrimental impact on drainage. Once work on the drive is completed, it will have the standard drainage incorporated. Thank you. And those are both the deputations. Thank you, members.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Does anybody have any questions? I think Councillor Judith Smythe was ready to talk on that. So I've just lost my chat and I'm just trying to find it again. So just bear with me just for a second. There we are. Hold on a second.
That's correct, sir.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Judith Smythe. There we are. Sorry. Question, Councillor.
Question is, there are 1 or 2 discrepancies between the deputation that you read out and your report, and I wondered if you'd had a chance to check back on, for example, the claim that the separation of the properties is 2.6 metres rather than 3 metres in paragraph 1.3, and the also the difference in the interpretation of the lack of sunlight readings that are recorded in the deputation as against the report, your report that you've supplemented today. Mm-hmm. Did you have a chance to check?
Could you answer?
Yes. So yes, I've double checked the submitted plans, both the location and the block plan, as well as I've measured on the mapping held by the council. From what I can read, the approximate distance between the 2 properties on the plans and in our mapping does display it to be 3 metres between wall to wall, the extension and the neighbouring conservatory. In regards to the discrepancies in terms of the amount of sunlight, we have checked on mapping and carried out an assessment of what we consider to be the likely impact in terms of a loss of light and a loss of sunlight, and we are confident in the statements we've given. Thank you.
Councillor Judy Smythe, did you want to come back? Okay, no further questions from you. Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Donna Jones, you were next on our list. Councillor Donna Jones.
Thank you. It's not a rhetorical question. It is a proper question, but I do know the answer to this. But through you, Chair, it's a question, I suppose, really for our well, it could be for the planning officer, but probably for the planning lawyer, for Juliet, and really more for the benefit of the objectors, the neighbours, who obviously are concerned about this application, which I fully understand. But in terms of the relevant planning policy and what we as councillors are here to adjudicate on today, the effect of light, the right of light, and that piece of a whole huge piece of civil legislation around that. I wonder if Juliet can just confirm that unfortunately that is not a material planning consideration for us today. I think it's really important that the neighbours understand that unfortunately that is not grounds for us to refuse the application. I wonder if we could have some clarification on that.
I think that's a very good question, Councillor Donna Jones. Yes, Juliet, would you just like to say a few words on that, please, just to Councillor Jones and to the general public that are listening?
In terms of the actual planning policy at Portsmouth, I'll defer to the planning officers on that. But in terms of the light, we're considering that in terms of amenity issues as opposed to a right to light, as in how Donna's explained.
So she's correct in what she's saying, is she, Juliet?
Yeah, it's the PCS 23, it's the relevant policy, which is the design scale and like Juliet said, the amenity of the extension on the existing buildings. But right of light legislation is separate, and that might be something they want to go and seek their own advice about if they think there's a case for it, which, you know, that's not for us to really comment on at all, but there you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor. And thank you for Juliet to clarify that. Councillor Hugh Mason, you've got a question, please. Councillor Hugh Mason, please.
It's very much along the same lines. The objectors mentioned a 45-degree rule. Could you be enlightening us as to what the 45-degree rule is, if you know, and also whether this is a material planning consideration?
That's for Matthew, I would take. Matthew, could you answer Councillor Hugh Mason's question?
Hello, Councillor. This is Simon Turner, if I may answer.
Oh, Simon. Yeah, Simon.
Portsmouth City Council doesn't have a 45-degree code. Many councils do, and so that may have prompted the question. I can explain what a 45-degree code is, but we don't actually have one. So do let me know if you'd like me to explain further, but we don't employ it. So we employ a judgment based on each and every application, because each and every site will be different depending on the circumstances, the existing site, the proportions of the and distances, the scale and design of the proposals, etc. So it's more of a qualitative judgment rather than a rule that we take into consideration.
Councillor Hugh Mason, did you want to come back to that, or are you happy with that explanation?
I'm happy with that, and I think it is most commendable that we judge each case on its merits.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Any more questions from members before we go to comments then, please? Any more questions? No? Okay then, so now we're going to move over to any comments, please. Any comments to the officer, please? No? Nobody wants to ask a comment? Yes, Councillor Terry Norton, please. Let's have a comment from you.
Thank you, Chair. No, it's just to address some of the issues raised by Mr. and Mrs. Bahir and their objection there. I think, you know, we rarely, very often see these kind of applications go through. They very rarely come to planning, and I think it's fair to say that this is one that doesn't so unfortunately, well, you know, this is one that I think we'll go through. So just to address some of the concerns that are in there. It would be very difficult to place any of those concerns on material grounds.
Chair, sorry, I didn't hear all of what Councillor Norton said. I'm not sure if he froze for everyone else. I wondered if he could repeat.
I must admit, yes. Could you just summarise what you said, Councillor Councillor Norton, please?
I certainly can. Just very briefly.
Can hear you. I know.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Just to address that some of the concerns made by the objector, that it would be very, very difficult to place any of those under material grounds. It would likely come back to appeal and be granted.
Yes, thank you very much. We heard that loud and clear. Thank you. I think Juliet heard that as well. Councillor Luke Stubbs, did you wish to make a comment, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I mean, I think Councillor Norton is right in his assessment, and for that reason, I propose the report.
Thank you very much, Councillor Luke Stubbs. Councillor Donna Jones, a comment, please.
Seconded, Chair.
Thank you very much. So I've got a proposer and seconder there by Councillor Donna Jones. Thank you for that, Councillor. Councillor Matthew Atkins, please. You're next on my list. You've got a not a question, what am I talking about? Yes, just a question, not a question, a comment, please. Sorry.
Sorry, Chair. I withdraw my request to speak. I was just going to second the recommendation.
Okay, someone's beaten you to it, I'm afraid, Councillor. Okay, so anybody else want to ask any more comments before we go to the voting on this one then? Okay, so the officer's recommended is for approval then, and we've got a proposal is by Councillor Luke Stubbs, and it's seconded by Councillor Donna Jones. I'd just like to clarify to the planning officer, did he have any more additional comments before we go to the vote at all, Matthew?
No additional comments.
No, okay, okay. So I think we're all clear on what we're voting for, members. Okay, so we now go to the vote. So I'll ask each member in turn for, against, or abstain. So we go to Councillor Judith Smythe, please. Please, would you indicate for, against the motion, or do you wish to abstain, Councillor?
I'm for the motion.
Thank you very much. I call upon Councillor Matthew Atkins. Please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for the motion, Chair.
Thank you very much. Donna Jones, Councillor Donna Jones, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Terry Norton, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Lynn Stagg, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Luke Stubbs, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain? For. Thank you. Councillor Claire Moody, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Called upon Councillor Hugh Mason. Please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion.
Thank you. And my own vote is for the motion. So I'll just quickly ask Democratic Services. I'm sure they can confirm what the numbers are. I take it that was carried.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, that was unanimous.
Unanimous. I thought it was, yes. So thank you, members. So that was carried. So thank you very much for that. So now move on very swiftly to the next application, if members are happy for that. And this is over to Matthew again, who is going to present the third application. And this is of 143 Manners Road in Southsea. Over to you, Matthew.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon again, members. I'll just share my screen, so bear with me a second. In the meantime, there are no supplementary matters to draw members' attention to for this item or any deputation requests. This application is this application seeks a certificate of existing lawful use for 143 Manners Road as a C4 HMO. And it is being brought to Planning Committee as the applicant is an employee of the council. In order to grant a certificate of existing use for the property, the applicant must demonstrate that the dwelling has been in consistent use as a HMO since prior to November of 2011, which is when the Article 4 direction was introduced, which removed permitted development rights in Portsmouth for the change of use from C3 to C4. The property is a typical two-storey mid-terrace dwelling located within central Southsea. The property is laid out as shown on the floor plans, with a bedroom, lounge and kitchen at ground floor level, and 3 bedrooms and a bathroom at first floor. The applicant has provided evidence in the form of tenancy agreements that run from September of 2011 to August of 2020. There are 2 gaps within the submitted tenancy agreements from 2012 until 2013 and from 2017 until 2018. The applicant has explained these gaps as in 2012 to 2013, the property was in the process of being purchased by the applicant and was vacant for that year. And in the case of 2017 to 2018, the previous tenants from the year before remained in occupation of the property, and as such, the tenancy agreement rolled over with no additional contract being drawn up. The applicant has explained all of this and submitted a statutory declaration to swear the use of the property since 2011. This evidence that's been submitted has been compared with council tax records and records held by our private sector housing department, both of which support the use, so don't show any other uses besides C4 in this time. And all of this evidence has been checked over by myself and legal services, who believe it is sufficient to grant a certificate of existing use for the property. Here you can just see some photos taken of the site back in February of this year. To the left you have the living area viewed from the kitchen, and the kitchen on your right. To the right you have the garden viewed from the kitchen and the downstairs front bedroom. To the left you have the upstairs front bedroom, and to the right the upstairs rear bedroom, and to the left the upstairs middle bedroom and the shower room. So having regard to all the submitted evidence and the records held by the council, the officer recommendation is to grant the certificate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matthew, for that. So now we're going to move on to any questions from members, which will be directed to Matthew. Any questions at all from any members, first of all, please? Okay, no questions at the moment. I'll just call it one more time. Any questions from members? No? Okay.
Well, hold on, Chair. I think there are some members.
I've got comments at the moment. Sorry, unless Councillor Hugh Mason has a question. No, Councillor Hugh Mason, is it a comment you had, Councillor Mason?
It's a comment.
Yeah, okay then. So I'll start with comments then, members, because obviously there are no questions. So the first person on my list was Councillor Matthew Atkins, please, for a comment, please.
Thanks, Chair. I mean, for the benefit of the public, this is a simple legal matter. Can they prove that this has been an HMO since before there were separate use classes? They can, so they should be entitled to continue to use it as an HMO. Therefore, I propose the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Atkins. Thank you very much. Next person I had for comment was Councillor Hugh Mason.
Thank you, Chairman. I know people in that road who, on questioning, confirmed to me that it has been in use since long before 2011 as a house in multiple occupation, so I'm very happy to second the proposal.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hugh Mason. So that's a seconder for that as well. Thank you. Councillor Donna Jones, you're next for a comment, please.
Withdrawn. I was just going to second, Chair.
Thank you very much. Make my life much easier. So, so before we go to the vote, then I call upon, obviously, just before we go to the vote, we've got a proposal. It's Councillor Atkins who is voting for, well, sorry, who are agreeing with the officer recommendation to approve. So that was proposed by Councillor Atkins and seconded by Councillor Hugh Mason. So we'll go through the councillors' names again. So I call upon Councillor Judith Smythe. Please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain at all?
For the motion, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Matthew Atkins, please indicate if you're for or against, or do you wish to abstain?
For the
proposal. Thank you. Councillor Donna Jones, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Terry Norton, please indicate if you're for or against, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lynn Stagg, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Luke Stubbs, please would you indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you very much. Call upon Councillor Claire Oudie. Do you wish to be for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
Oh, it has unmuted. For.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Now call upon Councillor Hugh Mason. Please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion.
Thank you very much. And obviously I'll cast my own vote, and it's for the motion in front of us. I'll just check with legal that it was unanimous.
Yes, Chair, that motion was carried.
Yeah, thank you very much. So that was has now been carried. Thank you very much for that. I take it we need to move on to the last application, I think, in front of us, if members are quite happy for us to speed along. That's so I now call upon the Planning Officer, Summer Sharp, who now will present the fourth application, and this is for 197 Havant Road. Over to you, Summer, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to share my screen. Whilst doing so, I would like to advise you on the supplementary matters. It was noted on the publication of the report that it wasn't explicitly clear on the recommendation of the application. I would like to confirm that this is for conditional permission. Further to this, we have also included a condition to ensure that the outbuilding would remain as ancillary to the host dwelling. I hope everyone can see my presentation, so I'll move on. So the application site is located to the north of Havant Road. It's on a slight incline when compared to the road itself. The neighbours to the east and west have a similar topography, with the neighbour to the north on slightly raised ground when compared to the application site. As shown on the plan, the application proposes a detached outbuilding to the northern boundary of the site, which would be set in from each elevation. I hope that you can see the distances here. So it's 0.7 metres set in from the northern boundary, 0.4 from the western boundary at the closest point, and 1 metre at the furthest point to the western boundary. This is the southern elevation, which would face into the site that you could see from the application, from the dwelling house itself. It shows a roller door for a garage and a pedestrian door to access the workshop. At the date of the site visit, the works had partially been undertaken, and this was what I saw. To the east and west elevations, you can see there is a slight incline in terms of the topography, this being the north and this obviously being the south. These are the photos from site visit, this being the western elevation and this being the east. The north elevation is what can be viewed from the neighbour who has requested the application go to committee. Due to this deputation, I visited the neighbour's property, and these were the site visit photos taken from their perspective. As you can see, the outbuilding is set in from each boundary. The eaves slightly protrude above the existing shared boundary. The eaves of the building are 2.4 metres and the overall height is 3.9. This is the proposed floor plan of the outbuilding, which shows that it can be used as a garage, as shown by the roller doors, and a workshop. Having regards to all material considerations raised, representations and planning policy, it is considered that the development is acceptable.
Thank you very much, Summer, for that. Thank you very much. So there's no deputations, I think you said, so we can now move on to questions then from members then. So any member that wishes to ask the Planning Officer, Summer, any questions, please? And I take it Councillor Matthew Atkins is the first gentleman on my list. Councillor Atkins, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to confirm that this required planning permission because of its size or because of how close it is to the boundary? Why was this something that would require planning permission? Because obviously it was done without planning permission, wasn't it? And we're giving retrospective permission.
Yes, so the reason for planning permission is due to the proximity to the boundaries. Had the proposal have been set in 2 metres from each boundary, it would have been considered permitted development.
And just as a follow-up, the substance of your report, though, is that had this application for it in this position been submitted, it would still likely have received permission. Is that the case?
Yes, regardless of whether it's retrospective or not, we have considered it on its own merits.
Okay, thank you very much. Does any other does any other members have any questions, please, to the officers? No? Okay, so we're going to move on to comments, and the first person that I've got for comments is Councillor Donna Jones. Councillor Donna Jones, please. A comment, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I mean, I can understand why the neighbours have objected, because from, you know, the image from their garden, you know, the ridge height is quite considerably higher than the boundary fence, so you can understand why. I mean, obviously, really just a comment from me is that whilst I fully note the officer's reason for conditional permission being granted, and I, you know, pretty much agree with her report there, no material grounds, I think, for refusal, I do always make the point that retrospective planning applications are aggravating because people should be taking the time to make an inquiry to local authority in advance. If the applicants did do this in this case, then you know, fair enough, but this is a retrospective application and it's not the way that it should be done.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jones, for that comment. Councillor Judith Smythe, please. You've got a comment, please.
Actually, I'm afraid it's a question because I did put RTS, but only just at the time you closed that down. My question, I wondered if.
So you're sorry. So you want to ask a question?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think we can allow that. That's fine.
I apologise. I know that we were concerned about the possible use of the building as a dwelling at a later time, and commercial use. And I know that when you introduced it, you talked about the supplementary matters. I wonder if it would be helpful if you could read out the new condition that's not on the main papers for the information of the public and everybody else who may not have had the supplementary information that I think has been provided.
Summer, are you okay to do that for us?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
So the condition that we are imposing reads: the outbuilding hereby permitted shall be used or occupied solely as incidental in conjunction with the residential use of the main dwelling known as 197 Havant Road, Portsmouth, and by a person related to such a person in ownership of the dwelling known as 197 Havant Road in Portsmouth. It shall not be separately used, occupied, or let for any non-incidental use.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That makes a lot of difference and reassures me about the use of such a large building, particularly in the light of some of the changes to the planning legislation that seem to be in the pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Matthew Atkins, we've moved from questionnaire, we're back to comments, please, from members. So, Councillor Matthew Atkins, please, a comment, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to echo what Councillor Jones said, that if I was the neighbour and that had been built without permission, I would be quite angry, and so I do have quite some sympathy with the neighbour. Really, it's on the basis it was built without permission, which seems to be kind of gaming or avoiding the system. Now, perhaps it was an honest mistake by the applicant, but I do want to emphasise that I do take a dim view of building things like that without permission if that is required. But having said that, it would be unreasonable for us to refuse permission and require it to be taken down if we would have given permission if it had been properly applied for, and we'd lose out appeal. So I think on that basis, I'll second Councillor Jones' recommendation of the report, proposal of the report. Oh, she didn't.
No, I was just about to say that. Yes.
I'll propose the officer's report. So I do want to emphasise to the applicant that he put his building at risk by doing it without permission. So it's not something we'd like to see.
Thank you very much. So just to make it clear, Councillor Matthew Atkins, you're proposing that. Thank you very much. So obviously I'm after a seconder if I can get one. Councillor Terry Norton, you're next on my list for a comment, please.
Thank you, Chair. Now, I think it's important to say that whilst this is a large outbuilding, the houses on Havant Road are particularly spacious, and it's not particularly uncharacteristic. It's also, I think, really important to highlight here that if the neighbours hadn't brought this to committee, the likelihood is that it would have been given planning permission. I've visited the site and seen the site, and I can, make very clear that it is most definitely being used as a workshop. So for those reasons, I think I will happily second Councillor Atkins' recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Terry Norton. Thank you very much. So I've got a seconder for that as well. Thank you very much. Councillor Luke Stubbs, did you have a comment at all?
No, not necessarily now. I was only going to offer it a second.
Thank you very much. So there's no more comments by the looks of it, members. So the officer's recommendation is for approval. So we have a motion obviously in front of us, and the motion is to grant prospective planning permission in accordance with the officer's recommendation, and it was proposed by Councillor Matthew Atkins and seconded by Councillor Terry Norton. Just want to check with the planning officer if they've got any more comments they want to add before we go to the vote at all.
Before we go to the vote, I want to make clear that we are recommending permission, including the condition which I read out earlier, just to make that clear.
Okay, everybody happy with that? The proposer and seconder before we go to the vote? Okay then, so I'll move on. So obviously I'll ask each member for or against, or if they wish to abstain. So Councillor Judith Smythe, please, would you indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for the motion, providing that condition is added.
Okay. Councillor Matthew Atkins, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion.
Thank you very much. Councillor Donna Jones, please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Terry Norton, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Lynn Stagg, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Luke Stubbs, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Claire Oodie, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Councillor Hugh Mason, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion.
Thank you very much, and I will cast my vote, and I'm for the motion in front of us. So just check with Democratic Services, but I think that is unanimous. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chair. That was unanimous.
Thank you very much. So members and officers, can I this draws us to the end actually, so can I thank you very much for all your attention today and for all your help, councillors and officers, and I wish
Chair?
you a very... Yes.
Sorry. Before, when Peter has turned the recording off, I wonder if officers and members could just stay online, because there's a point I wanted to raise with you, if that's okay.
I'm sure that's okay then. So I'll say goodbye to everybody now, and if you could stay online for a conversation with Councillor Donna Jones in a few seconds, suppose. So goodbye from all us councillors, and have a pleasant day. Bye-bye.